good morning, good morning. Uh, is there anyone that can make us, sort of like a routine track that we can use? Uh, Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Football Tribe YouTube channel. Robert Kesakos is your usual suspect. It's a pleasure to be back. It's another beautiful morning. We are a bit delayed because I had some errands to run with painters and stuff. But finally, we are here, and I hope that we will get into the thick of the conversation. So, as I wait for you guys to join me, allow me, do the usual honors, having our audience tested, make sure everything is in place for us to. Yes, so today's conversation will be a bit shorter because I did eat into our time with those morning errands that I had to run. So you'll please indulge me if I decide to keep this one and not more than 25 minutes or 30, hopefully. But it's going to be basically a recap of what we talked about, last night. There's not so much newness or in terms of news in regards to some of the transfer dealings that we spoke about yesterday. So yeah, so please bear with me when I say that it will be a recap of majority of what we spoke about the other day. Then, of course, there's some developments here and there, and Chelsea fans getting a bit feisty about Enzo Maresca, but majority of them about Nicholas Jackson following that red card that he did receive in their 3-1 loss to Flamengo as they advanced to the round of 16. Then Anthony will speak a bit about Andre Onana and things in that 12 But before I get today's conversation kicked off, I wish to send my round of applause to a couple of people. Some of them usual suspects on this channel. Others were joining us for the first time. People like, anyways, just for the laugh, 77. Thank you so much. Was with us yesterday. We did have a very extended conversation about Liverpool alongside Pressing Kosi from South Africa. They are also another Liverpool fan. We did have Explorer, who is a fan of Kylian Mbappe, to be specific, and also made inquiries about Sergio Ramos. We did have somebody from Japan, even though I failed to read their name. And then we did have Bob Barnes, also another Liverpool fan. So thank you so much, guys, for being with us, yesterday in respect to that broadcast. It did go on for a little over half an hour, and it was quite a fruitful engagement already. Thank you so much, guys, for dedicating the time to be with us. Our usual suspects are Pressing Kosi, Peter Parker, Amlen, Mariam, Ahmed Septa, who we've not seen in a couple of days, just as much as Zero Rikram. Hope all of you guys are doing well. I hope you're okay. Yeah, so anyways, just waiting for others to join us before I commit to starting the conversation in today's scope. So yeah, waiting for others to join us. So for those of you that are already here, please bear with us as we wait for others to join us. But Monaco have made inquiries regarding Manchester United goalkeeper Andre Onana, the 29-year-old Cameroon international, is a target for AC Monaco, who also have made moves, have offered Paul Pogba a 2-year contract. They're trying to sign Ansu Fati from Barcelona. looks like they're trying to be intentional. They're trying to sort of regroup to assemble a much better team, and they are looking conditions revolving around Andre Onana, who apparently Manchester United signed for about 50 million pounds from Inter Milan just 2 seasons ago, or about 2 seasons ago, really. So, and they're already looking to move him on because they think he's fallen short of requirements in regards to being that astute goalkeeper, a purchase of Andre Onana. And in fact, Manchester United fans, I don't know how you feel about this, but it's something I've sort of witnessed with, I did witness with, what's his name? Mark Goldbridge, trying to give Eric Ten Hag the stick that while he is at Bayer Leverkusen, he should return to Manchester United and sort of relieve them of some of the transfer burdens that he did make, in his opinion. Whether it's as genuine as opinions come or it's a part of banter, that remains to be seen. And he said, I think he was criticizing him for two reasons. He's gone to Liverpool and signed Joel Quensha, that's the 22-year-old centre back. He also did go to Brentford and signed Mark Blacken, the goalkeeper, and he was wondering why isn't he coming to Manchester United to sign Andre Onana? Why isn't he coming to Manchester United to sign Matthias De Ligt or any of those defenders or any of those players that he sort of stuck them with? I certainly do not want to believe entirely that's true, because oftentimes, while managers have a very strong input in the kinds of players that they do sign, the role of the sporting director or the technical director or the football director is also to guide on that journey to say that player is too tailored to this kind of system. We want a more dynamic player, sort of, but also I do not think that players are emboldened to sort of are tailored or cut out for one particular system. I think overall players can be flexible to play in multiple systems, provided they are with the right manager who uses them to the best of their abilities. Now, of course, that argument could be made. Not all players succeed in all systems. That's true. So, but I'm not really inclined to believe that suddenly all every Ten Hag buy should be put out simply because there's been a change of manager. I don't know if that makes sense. Let's use the example. If let's say today Pep Guardiola were to walk out of Manchester City, I do not suddenly think that when you bring in a new manager, their view is going to be, let's get rid of Omar Mamosh, let's get rid of Savinho, Jeremy Doku, Tijan Rienders, Matthias Nunes, and everybody else that there is who apparently, quote unquote, may not fit in their system. I do not think it should work that way. While Ruben Amorim's system may demand that there are sort of players with certain qualities that he may desire, but when you look at around that Manchester United squad, you can't sort of tell me or convince me that Lisandro Martinez cannot play in a back three. You cannot tell me that Lenny Yoro, at his age, did he turn 20 eventually, cannot play in a back three, because that's something you learn. You basically learn to position yourself and read the game with the mind that instead of 4, we are now 3. So that means if they attack us using the left wing, then somebody needs to make the shift to the right back wall and cover that spot as we wait for one of the midfielders to sort of pull back in, or as we wait for one of the wing backs to run back in, depending on how further they were up the pitch. If it's on the opposite flank, the same applies, because there is what usually happens with a back three is that the wing backs oftentimes push so further up the pitch, and that creates a bit of a vulnerability with the centre backs. Again, overall, it depends on how a manager plays, because certain back threes are a bit static in terms of how they move. For example, when you look at back the Juventus of Bazzagli and Giorgio Chiellini, who was the other? really, the way they played in that back three was in such a manner that that back three moved moved as a belt. They moved as a belt. So every time they were forced to defend, they defended as a belt. As opposed, when you watch some teams play back three, for example, you'll find that the back three essentially becomes a back two when they are in the offensive. The defenders push so high up the pitch to the center line, and then one of the third defenders pushes further in what the number six holding midfielder would, the kind of placement he would be occupying. And then, of course, that means that the number six and the number eight, depending on the system, have pushed further ahead to try and help with the counter press or provide options in terms of who can be played in during that side of the offensive. So overall, it depends, but I do think that United have so many good young players and senior players that can fit into any system. I do not suddenly think that it's really about, get rid of that player and then bring in this player because he's the one that will suit an Amorim system. For goodness sake, let's take the assumption that Ruben Amorim goes on to have a false start of the season, pretty much what Man United had last season. And maybe halfway into the season, Man United are thinking maybe he's not it for us. Maybe it's not worked out as we had hoped. We need to get rid of him. So then what? Then what happens? You get rid of Amorim because it's not worked out and end up with a new manager who then you do what? They come with a new system and you say, are you going to go in the market and buy other players that will fit the new manager's, system? So I do not think I do not think certainly that it's that simple, that it is as simple as saying, get out there, let's have a new manager. And so it's not as simple as saying we have a new manager, let's get new players that are suit this kind of system. Look at Liverpool. Arne Slot, even though he has his own philosophy, that may sort of be a bit different from that of Jurgen Klopp. He worked to the system that these players knew best, not changing so many things, and that's how eventually it worked all out, and they won the Premier League title. So, and even then, I think it is premised upon those small bits of facts of how managers adapt to systems and players that they do find at a club with what they have been accustomed to playing, that then those new managers get to succeed, especially in the short run. And it takes me back to some of the conversations that we were having in some forums, again, including being part of this channel, when our calls were to Ruben Amorim to adjust his playing style, to adjust his way of playing to sort of try and fit the kinds of players that he had and also achieve results in the interim. We've seen that one too many times. When you go for a manager like Sam Allardyce, when you're trying to save your club from relegation, there are things that you ought to underlook, and then because it's about results. Even for Manchester United, there came a point in the season when we thought it should be about results and nothing more, nothing less, really. That's what we thought it should be about. But he stuck to his guns, club backed him, and they ended up where they ended up, So it really, really worked out that way. Meanwhile, Nicholas Jackson turns 24 today. I hope it's a birthday. He's not really going to have the celebrations he had hoped to have following that red card against Flamengo last night. But, excuse me. And he did issue out an apology, apparently, of course, to Chelsea and Chelsea fans for the manner in which he behaved. So Nicholas Jackson apologizes for his red card and he says, I want to say sorry to the club, to the staff, to my teammates, and to the fans watching. I let you down, another red card, and honestly, I'm so angry at myself. I worked hard every day to help the team, not to put us in this kind of situation. I still do not fully understand how it happened, but One thing is clear, it wasn't intentional, just a football moment that went the wrong way. No excuses. I take full responsibility. I'll reflect. I will grow, and I will come back stronger for the badge and for everyone who believes in me. Sorry. That was the statement from Nicholas Jackson, having received that red card in last night's Chelsea defeat against a Flamengo. They did lose by 3 goals to 1. Pedro Neto scoring that goal for Chelsea, while Pinto, Danilo were some of those on target for Flamingo. Then Enzo Maresca on Nicholas Jackson's discipline, whether it's an issue, he said it happened against Newcastle, and today I am not 100% sure it's a red card compared to the Newcastle one. It's a little bit of a bad moment for Nico. Yeah, and that's how he said it. I do not think it's anything more than that, really. We shouldn't be trying to read so much into it. Uh, Players sometimes do commit costly mistakes in sort of in crucial games or crucial moments. I do not think he needed to make that tackle, but yeah, it's easier for us to say when we are not in the moment of the sport in itself, because we ourselves do not know how we would have behaved. Of course, the tackle in itself was horrible, but probably his intentions were more than hurting them, were beyond committing that kind of foul or even hurting the opponents, a player. But that's how it turned out to be. That's how it ended up, and we hope that it can be better for them really going forward. Then the other news is regarding, of course, the other news is regarding Nottingham Forest boss Nuno Espirito Santo, who has signed a new contract at Nottingham Forest to extend his stay. He signed a 3-year contract that means until June 2028, and he said, "And now is the time to work harder than ever as we strive for more special memories." That's Nuno Espirito Santo, the former Wolverhampton Wanderers manager, speaking after signing his contract. Then Evangelis Marinakis did comment says, "We share the same dream and ambition of writing a new history for Nottingham Forest." Now, of course, in the aftermath of that spat, I think in their 2-all draw against Crystal Palace, sorry, against Leicester City last season, when Evangelis Marinax turned off on the turf or came to the turf and sort of had words with and had words with his manager in Espirito Santo. We had started to get all speculative sorts of media of how their relationship is getting feisty, that Evangelis was not happy, and yet of course, they did come out to issue a statement to clear the air that it was regarding about their frustration with the team physios and medical team for letting back on Taiwo Awoni after he had clashed with the uprights. So that was the situation, really. That was the situation in that regard. But more on that statement from Nuno Espirito Santo says, "I'm delighted to be able to continue our journey at this fantastic football club. Since we arrived at Forest, we have worked extremely hard to create a special bond between players, the fans, and everyone at the club, which helped us achieve great things last season." So there you have it. What they managed to achieve last season was quite remarkable. Of course, they did not get the ultimate prize of qualifying for UEFA Champions League football, but it's a case of aiming for it's a case of aiming for the moon and falling among the stars. So they aimed for the moon and fell among the stars by qualifying for the UEFA Conference League, which I think, given the kind of competition that plays within that particular competition, suits them enough to compete favorably in that competition, but also remain competitive in the domestic leagues. That is as far as the Premier League is concerned, as opposed to because the demands of the UEFA Champions League, even the Europa League in itself, sometimes when you make that kind of leap for the first time, it's not always easy. I'm not saying it's going to be easy for them, but I think it's easier playing in the UEFA Conference League as opposed to playing in the Europa League and the UEFA Champions League, but also compete favorably in the Premier League. So that works out for them really well. Then the other news is apparently Arsenal could make a move for Brentford midfielder Christian Nogard as a potential replacement for Thomas Partey, who is expected to leave. That is according to Mirror Football. Some of the speculation are putting through. But before we get into the gist of the transfer speculation and things in that realm, let's look at the FIFA Club World Cup in regards to the results that we did witness. But Esperance did beat up against Los Angeles by a goal to nil in the other second game of Group D. And that means Chelsea remain second, tied on points with third place Esperance, although Esperance have a negative goal difference of one. So then Flamingo have already advanced and they play Los Angeles in the final game. Now, that whoever wins between Chelsea and Esperance will advance to the knockout stages. But also, if the game ends in a draw, then Chelsea can advance. I mean, there cannot be any other results other than that. Either one of the two wins and they advance, or it's a draw and then Chelsea do advance. So I think Esperance will have more to play for or to lose than Chelsea in regards to going for it. Because if it's a draw, you still go out. While for Chelsea, if it's a draw, you still advance. If it's a victory, you still advance. Then, just a second. Yes. In the other results, Bayern Munich beats up against Boca Juniors by 2-1. That game coming at what, 4 a.m. I did not watch these games, guys, because they did come late in the night. But Harry Kane on the squash sheet, as well as Michael Olise. I mean, Michael Olise, what a player, really. What a player. It sort of reminds me of how everybody in the Premier League was clamoring for his signature. We kept on saying Arsenal, Chelsea, sign up this player. And Bayern Munich came and snapped him. And I mean, he's really, really incredible. But Melencio was the goal scorer for that Boca Junior side. It was an equalizer in the 66th minute, but Michael Olise in the 84th minute did score to win that one. Quickly in the transfer speculation or transfer gossip, before we wrap up this morning's podcast, like I said, we will keep it short and simple. Given that we are late to the classroom today. Jordan Sancho is a target for Juventus and Napoli. That's according to Sky Sport. So many Italian teams want to sign the 25-year-old England, winger or playmaker. Then Liverpool, of course, intend to make a move for Alexander Isak, but are also interested in signing Mark Guehi, the Crystal Palace defender and captain. They are 24 years of age. Then Manchester United Cameroon goalkeeper, we've spoken about him, attracting interest from AC Monaco, with Man United exploring a deal for Atalanta's Italian goalkeeper Marco Canesecchi. Yes, Marco Canesecchi. Yes, that's a 24-year-old Italian goalkeeper, but have also been linked with the move for Aston Villa goalkeeper in Emiliano Martinez. Then Manchester City are open to listening to offers for Ilkay Gundogan if Galatasaray were interested, while Paris Saint-Germain are closing in on a deal for Ukrainian defender Ilya Zabadi, only 22 years of age. Tottenham have made inquiries about the availability of Antoine Semenyo from AFC Bournemouth. The 25-year-old Ghanaian international has also attracted interest from the likes of Man United, while Fulham and Man United are exploring a potential deal for João Paulinho, the 29-year-old Portuguese holding midfielder, could be available for a move from Bayern Munich, despite joining them a little over a year ago in a £48 million deal. Then basically that's the major gossip really that's making the rounds. But before I let you guys go, like I said, we're keeping this one short. I thought there's some more news that we could look at briefly, but Anyways, let's not drag this on too long. Let's not drag this on too long. But yeah, Federico Chiesa is expected to leave the club. Sorry, to leave Liverpool because he wants more consistent game time, and I do not think he's going to get it at Liverpool. Then Anthony prefers a return to Royal Betis amid his interest from other clubs who would want to sign him, including Como from Italy. So there you have it. Anyways, guys, it's a wrap here. Allow me to keep it short here. We'll be back to engage really soon. As soon as there's a bit of breaking news, we could be back maybe lunch hour or later in the evening. But it's always a pleasure to be with you here, guys. Have yourselves a blessed weekend. Bye bye.